The main event, Roman Reigns, LA Knight. I was kind of wondering if Triple H had some creative that he'd been holding back a little bit to make sure that, maybe we don't see the same type of match ending that we're used to seeing with the Bloodline, and maybe to save LA Knight a little bit because he's so hot. This was just about, outside of maybe LA Knight getting more offense early on in the match and the crowd being behind him like they were, this was pretty standard, right? Standard Roman Reigns, standard Bloodline, standard interference, nothing really special. I did enjoy the work. I thought LA Knight brought it. I thought Roman was a little bit more aggressive than that slow style that he liked when he's on offense. But because LA Knight was on offense a lot, I thought the match was a little bit better. But yeah, the kind of the same old story that we've seen. That they do need to adjust, I think, or else they could lose some folks with this storyline.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with you. The match, what I liked about this was that this match, LA Knight as a character is supposed to be an Attitude Era throwback. This match was an Attitude Era throwback.
Who called him? What did Roman Reigns call him? A cosplay of his cousin on SmackDown last night?
Yeah, the
cosplay,
which is hilarious. Kevin Nash said that about him on his podcast.
Oh yeah,
it was like an ongoing, I don't know if it's seriously a feud, but it's interesting because the match, the first match we saw was the Seth and Drew match. That one had a collar and elbow tie-up, more like a modern wrestling main event. This was like an Attitude Era throwback, but You're right. The finish was that typical Bloodline finish where you've got multiple interferences. The referee's an idiot. If you're a referee, you should know at this point you should know there's going to be shenanigans, just based on the canon of wrestling. And it did come off like just another similar Roman Reigns finish. He ultimately wins with the spear, but the babyface comes close, and then somebody saves Roman, and
yes.
it is kind of getting a little bit played out.
I was explaining to some folks who are kind of tired. They're not really WWE fans. They more so just going like, all these people love WWE now. Well, let me tell you that it's not as good as you think it is kind of crowd. And I was explaining that when I was younger, this is even before your time of watching, you go back to the late 80s, and Ric Flair is beating Lex Luger, and he's beating Sting, and he's beating all the challengers kind of in the same way, with the either getting himself disqualified, or there's interference, or, he beats them in a way that you're like, okay, we get it. This is the same thing. You're asking me to pay, $20 a month for this pay-per-view when I know that Rick's going to win in a heel-ish way. Now, wrestling today is way different. We've come quite a ways since then. But this is why doing long championship reigns is actually pretty darn hard, because you're going to be repeating a lot of the same stuff. I would challenge Triple H to change it up a little bit, though, because if I can't imagine we go past next year's WrestleMania with Roman still having the title and us doing this over and over. Now, it might actually be a good thing that he's not wrestling in all these other PLEs, because they don't have to come up with more of these finishes. But yeah, this was really the first time I thought where it's like, okay, this is getting a little stale. We need to kind of change things up.
And it worked in the 80s because Rick was traveling in different territories, and so the people in those cities didn't see every Ric Flair title defense unless you were like a tape trader. So it was fresh to them. You saw Rick, maybe 4 times a year, and so it's fresh for them. But now, with the way wrestling is with television and everybody sees everything all the time, yeah, it does get played out. But what's funny is they try to do some different types of finishes, and sometimes they do come off cheesy. Remember the Finn Balor match when the top rope exploded with that? Yes. That was terrible. Yes. So I think, and I said this after Mania this year, Cody's going to win a title at WrestleMania 40. It's going to happen. I don't think that's changing. If he doesn't win, I think it'll be a very huge mistake, because we've had this great heel run from Roman, great run, one of the greatest ever, but it's time to go back to a babyface champion, even if it's just for a year.
And the other thing about that is they're still trying to tease that it could be The Rock. Roman making the statement about Rock on Friday night, his cousin.
That's right.
Still doing the rock bottom in his matches. So, there I don't know what the percentage chance is. I was told by somebody that they heard that the reason why Rock wasn't at WrestleMania this year was more of a creative thing than anything else. I do not know if that is true. That was I hadn't heard that before though, so that was kind of interesting. But, you know, I with The Rock and Roman, if that is the match, it is probably better with Roman not having the belt
I
during.
agree. Wouldn't it make more sense if at WrestleMania 40, The Rock is the one that saves Cody from the interference this time, if there still is interference with Solo or whomever, and that could set up The Rock and Roman for next or the following year's WrestleMania 41. We still don't have a city yet. There's rumors about the UK and stuff like that. But I
There's going to
think
be rumors after All In and the business that All In did.
Well, I mean, I said it too. When they sold out Wembley, I'm like, WWE's gonna try and run Wembley and do equal numbers, if not more.
Yeah.
They're very competitive. It's just the game. But yeah, man, I think that works. I mean, there was even I remember I forgot I don't know if it was Dave or somebody reported that The Rock wanted to interfere in a Roman match set up the next year. They didn't do it this year, but for 40 they could do it to 41. I don't know, but I don't like.
You can have Roman and Cody on night one. And then, I mean, it's a one-day build to get The Rock and Roman, but you can kind of tease things to make fans think that's the way that they're going.
Well,
Roman
you
and
would have to
Rock at WrestleMania on second night.
You'd have to do promos on TV to kind of, like you said, allude it's going to happen. I thought it would be cool if they did Roman Rock on night one, Roman wins, and then Cody beats him the next night this year. But it doesn't appear that they're going to do that, even though I do like the idea of 2 titles on back-to-back nights. You can't always do that, but I do like that idea. I love when New Japan did it for Wrestle Kingdom when Okada had 2 defenses. He could survive the first one, which was Ibushi. Second one was Naito. I was in the Tokyo Dome for that, and it was great. And so maybe they'll do it some year. I wish they would.